Inflation is defined as the general increase in the price of goods and services, and consequently, the fall in the purchasing power of money. And that fall in purchasing power can be very real. When I was a kid, right around the time of Abraham Lincoln, a bar of chocolate cost 5 cents. Aside from the fact that today's version is noticeably smaller, that same bar today would set me back $1.25. I bought my first new car for $2,600. I'd estimate a similar model today would cost 15 times that amount. And my first house, a modern 3-bedroom, 3-bath, tri-level suburban home, cost me $28,000. The cost today would be 20 times that amount. Even though many years have elapsed since I was a bright-eyed youngster, the implied rate of increase in these items is about 8% per year. Have you ever wondered how inflation is calculated? Sure, we all know that they take a basket of goods that a typical person might consume and then track how the price of that basket of goods changes over time. But what gets me is that the increase in prices often seems to have little to do with the headline number that the government reports. Do I just have really weird taste in things? Or is there something else going on? Over time in the US anyway, there have been several adjustments to the way that inflation is calculated. This is important because these adjustments suggest that inflation is being underestimated. So what are these adjustments and what impact have they had? Today I'm going to focus on the 2 adjustments that I think are the most significant: hedonic adjustments and substitution effects. Hedonic adjustments are an attempt to reflect improvements in quality. So the product you used to buy costs twice as much today, but it's also twice as good, according to the bean counters in Washington. So in reality, there has been no inflation at all. Well, it seems a little dubious to me, but I guess I can sort of see the logic. Substitution effects, though, are a bit more dicey. The idea here is that people buy less expensive things instead of buying more expensive things. So beef is up 50%, but that causes people to substitute chicken for a portion of their beef consumption. So the overall inflationary effect is much less. I don't know, call me a skeptic, but it seems to me if people were okay with chicken, they would have just consumed that in the first place. So what is the effect of these changes to the way inflation is calculated? On average, it has been to reduce it by about 7% per year relative to the way it used to be calculated 40 years ago. So if you feel as though the official inflation numbers understate your own cost of living increases, there's a pretty good chance that you're right. The best way to estimate inflation is to compare your own cost of living over time, as I did when we spoke about the candy bar or the car. When I do that, I reckon the actual inflation rate during my lifetime has been about 6 or 7% per year. It's also worth recognizing that governments around the world are some of the biggest debtors and therefore biggest beneficiaries of inflation. They have a vested interest in promoting a moderate inflationary level of around 6%, while trying to convince people that it's somewhat lower than that. For that reason, I'd expect inflation for the longer term to approximate that 6 or 7% level.